Hi,
Oh,
everybody. This is Vicki with Show Dog Prep School. I'm here with Patti Palmer of Rivercity Basset Hounds for our Breeder of Influence interview. I usually talk about how we met. If it's somebody, Patti actually is somebody that I've known in person in real life for quite a long time. And we met through Basset Hound field trials. I think I came out to judge. We had very low numbers of judges. And so Basset people would invite Dachshund people and Dachshund people, and I ended up meeting Patti. And you guys had a litter at the time. I remember in your RV, it was a very fieldy litter. I remember you telling
yeah,
me.
yeah.
Um, so that's how we met. So Patti, tell me, who is River City?
Well, it's mostly me. Gary and I share some of, certainly we share the responsibilities, but he makes everybody know that I make all the decisions. He takes,
Nice.
he does all the bragging. I make the decisions. He's the unpaid kennel help, he'll tell you. And he's a big help, because you can't, you can't breed bassets alone. The people who do, I just am not worthy. There's, some people in Europe, and there's one of my mentors, Cherry Feldhausen, there is, breeds bassets alone, but you need help. It takes a village to
Yeah.
breed bassets.
So tell me what River City, what's that about? Your kennel
Um,
name.
Well, actually, we started out as Basset pet owners, and I had my first Basset when I was in college. I just fell in love with the breed, and a neighbor had a male Basset, and he let me get a puppy. And I was dating Gary at the time, and so she was sort of our puppy. And then we went on to get married, and we had a few more Bassets, but we were pretty dumb, and we didn't have a fenced yard in the country, and our Bassets went hunting, and we didn't, and never came back. And so I raised my children, and at the time that all of my kids were leaving home and I was going to be an empty nester, prior to that time, I had told him for about 5 years, if you don't give me a Basset for Christmas, don't give me any Christmas presents, because I don't want anything else. That's all I want. So he gave me all kinds of stuffed Bassets and statue Bassets and stuff like that. And when Nick was going off to college and the house was going to be empty, we owned River City Antique Mall. And so,
Oh,
and Sacramento is the River City, but so that's where River City came from. Is actually, we owned the Antique Mall, and he gave me a Basset for Christmas, and we named her River City Antique Millie. And she was just a pet. She was backyard bred, had no credentials, but we were friends with some people in the Basset Hound Club, and they said, "Oh, you should come field trial. You should come see about field trialing." So when she was about an 8-month-old puppy, we went out to a field trial just actually at Grasslands Park in Davis. Did you guys ever go there? Anyway, we went out just to see what it was about, and here she was in the gallery opening on the lines, and they were going, "Oh, she's opening."
suddenly everyone's like, where did you get this dog?
Yeah, exactly. And they said you should have entered because you would have won. We didn't even have her registered then. She wasn't even registered yet. Because it was just a pet.
Yeah.
So that's where River City came from. And I think probably the litter you're talking about was that we did breed her once to a very well-known kennel on the east that's known for dual champions, and got these phenomenal field dogs. They were not that I showed one a little while, but they really weren't show dogs. They were just phenomenal field dogs.
Yeah.
And then we went on from there.
When you say phenomenal field dogs in Bassets, do you feel like that makes them less good pets? Because in some like labs, like the field dogs can be way too much for a family who just wants a load to lay around the house. Is that the same with Bassets?
Yes, exactly the same. We learned that from that litter because there were 5 boys and 1 girl. We kept a boy and a girl, and we placed the others as pets. And there were a few successful pet owners. One of them, they were hikers and very active, so they could keep the dog really active. But
Yeah.
we sold a male to an elderly couple, and I kind of interview everybody and try to match the dog. And
Yeah.
they had Bassets before, and they assured me that they knew what to do, but he was way too much for them. He was such a hot hunter, and he pulled, on a walk, he would pull them, and
Crittering all over the place,
yeah,
all critters.
yeah, yeah. And it took 3 homes to find the right home for him, and it was full of kids. He had to have
Yeah.
kids and had to have lots of walks. It had kids and grandparents, and it was a big, big household, and they all walked him a lot.
To be a family affair.
Right. People expect them to, even judges will say this to me sometimes. They expect them to be couch potatoes. They don't expect them to be out athletes. And they're
Perhaps they've never judged them in the field where you have to chase them all over the hills.
exactly, exactly. I mean, people think, oh, it's easy to field trial a basset. They don't go very far, but oh, they do. They go really far. And I've chased them up and down hills, back and forth in the rain. I mean, they're athletes.
They truly are driven by their nose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Totally driven by their nose. And when you field trial, once you teach them about rabbits, oh my gosh, you've in a way created a
They've gone to
monster.
the dark side and
Yeah,
it's going to come
because
back.
that's all they want to do. And they know, like this weekend, we field trial, and my old girl Shadow. Can you believe I'm saying Shadow is my old girl? But she's my.
Actually,
She knows as soon as I get up at 5 in the morning and start putting on my boots and stuff, she knows exactly where I'm going and starts all the barking and noise, and that's
oh.
all she wants to do.
So
Yeah.
you did not grow up in a dog showing and breeding family then?
Nope. I grew up in
Have
a horse show breeding and showing a Morgan horse show breeding family and horse
okay.
showing. So similar, but not the
Yeah.
quite the same.
But at least they had an understanding of, you know, at least you were around sort of animal competitions when you were
Right,
young.
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
So tell me about your foundation animals. Is the one pet that you ended up breeding and got that great field litter, is she behind your stuff? Is she the foundation, or get uh,
No.
did you get other stuff and then start with that?
Yeah. So, um, it's such a hard thing. So we really wanted to breed her. We really wanted to breed her to somebody who was a finished champion. We had a very hard time convincing someone to let us breed her, and understandably so. I understand all the trouble that we had.
Yeah.
Um,
You mean
and
to find a male that
right, to
somebody
find a male.
yeah.
And then we did find a male, and we bred these 2 phenomenal field dogs. I mean, they're legendary. My 2 dogs. Um, the the premier breeder in Bassets, Claudia Orlandi, her husband wanted to buy my Dice and take him back to Spain to teach his dogs how to hunt. That's the kind of hunting dog he was.
Wow.
Um, and Delta was taught many dogs on the West Coast how to hunt. She was one of these little communicators that she would get in their face if they didn't stay with her on the line and tell them whatever dogs say, but get on the line with me. You're being stupid. And
Yeah.
I more than one dog and more than one person took her home with them to teach their dogs how to hunt. So they were both phenomenal. And because we had so much trouble getting a male, and because we never intended to show, but then once we finished Millie, we wanted to get another dog.
Yeah.
And we were lucky enough to get, again,
Finished Millie in the field or in the pen?
finished Millie in the field.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And Millie won a national field trial title, and so did her daughter Delta. Both of them did. Anyway, when we were looking, our friends hooked us up again with the East Coast breeder, Ruth Polly of Branscombe Bassets, who breeds dual champions. And she sold us a bitch. And then when she came, she was amazing hunter also. And the amazingness in Delta and Dice also came from Branscombe, I think. You know, a little bit of natural talent from Millie, but a lot of bloodline from Branscombe. And so when we got her here, people said, "Oh, she's really pretty. You should show her."
Nice.
We went to Stockton and we showed in 2 shows, and she won winner's bitch under a Basset breeder the second day. And Ruth Polly just couldn't believe it. She said, "Have you ever shown before?" And we said, "No." And, you know, she said, "Well, that's a really good judge that gave you winner's bitch." So we were hooked. And so she died early. She died when she was 2 of a brain abscess. And then by then we had lots of field trial friends all up and down the West Coast, and they helped us get 2 half sisters who's the foundation. And so my foundation bitch, Missy, was CJ's misadventure. And I got her from Cherry Feldhausen. And she also was a phenomenal field dog. She was my first dual champion, my first dual champion. And then the other one we couldn't breed, but she also was a dual champ. We made her a dual champion. And then we ended up getting a third sister. And I called them, they were all out of the same sire, Simon. I called them Simon's Angels, my Simon's Angels. They were
from different litters and different mothers.
One litter, 2 were from one litter, 1 was from a different mother. So, okay. But they were all right around the same age, and they cemented my show career, and they started our breeding program. And we bred. I spent probably 3 years discussing who to breed Missy to. I had a folder. Who am I going to breed Missy to? You know, with Sherry, trying to find the right dog. And we bred her to Frozen Seaman, to a tailgate dog. And so it's just my opinion, but there are 3 dual champion Basset Hound breeders still in the United States that breed both for conformation and for field ability. And they're Branscombe, CJ, and Tailgate. And we're just very lucky that we've been able to tap in on all 3 of those.
But now more, right? Because you do that.
Well, we do it, and we're yes. Now, you know, but I still don't think I'm at their level. Branscombe, Ruth Polly's gone now, and John Meal has continued with some of the line, but Branscombe is sort of fading out, and Tailgate, their owners are getting old, but they have a younger handler that's coming along, and so hopefully that'll continue. And Cherry is still very active at CJ Bassett's. So I still attribute all of my success to them. Mm-hmm. You know.
So it's interesting to me that you started out, because I know a lot of people will say, well, I'll get a bitch from this line and a bitch from this line, and then go out and then sort of bring them in and out. But it sounds like your bitches were pretty closely related, you took them and went out and then back in.
Right.
So do you have a formula for your breeding program?
Well, sort of. Sort of. I was listening to other people's formulas. I'm not keen on strict line breeding. I think you if you breed too close, you're gonna have problems. And Basset Hounds, you know, are a chondrodysplastic breed, and we have a lot of problems with their bones. It's very easy to get into trouble. We have, and so, and also, we don't have a lot of genetic testing for our problems that we have in our breed. So you have to rely on other people to tell you the truth and
test
be
breedings,
honest,
right?
right?
And
Right,
test breedings
right,
because
exactly.
you can't. Yeah.
So my formula is I breed into the line and my line is basically CJ and Sandlin. The other person who really influenced my breeding is Sandy Chrysanthus, and she and Cherry and Chris Wallen of Rivendell, they all breed together. So my 3 beginning bitches were all intermingled from them, from their
Okay.
breed. They breed together. And then I breed into that Sandlin line, and then I breed out. I do an out cross, and then I go back in and out. And that has worked. And then I do look at pedigrees. I look at who I'm doubling up on, and I think about what kinds of problems they've had. And in the beginning, I had a lot of trouble with temperament, and I've worked really, really hard to improve my temperament. And you know this because we've visited you with our temperament problems. But I've worked really hard to overcome temperament. And one of the things I did, and this I will take credit for, is I went way out and I bought a bitch from the Netherlands, who I met her breeder. I met him at our nationals, but I met him also on Facebook before the nationals.
Yeah.
And he brought her mother to our nationals and finished her American championship in 2 nationals, winning reserve winner's bitch and winner's bitch between the 2 nationals and 2 specialties. So 3 5-point majors. She either was reserve or winner's bitch at each of those shows, and she was just this phenomenal bitch. So I started bugging him to get a bitch from him.
Mm-hmm.
And I imported her in 2014. And my friend Liz Leo also bought her brother. And so they came together.
Oh, right. I remember that.
Yeah. They came together, and they have a little bit of American blood. It's from the Splash Kennel down in San Diego, the Professor. But they're primarily bred by Van Gruzen in the Netherlands. So she is completely unrelated at the time, she was completely unrelated to all my stuff. And then by doing that, she brought type and temperament to my breeding program. And so we bred Missy to tailgate. Then we got Abby, and then we bred Abby to we bred back into the line into a Sandlin. We bred her to Sarge, who's Showtime Shock and Awe, and got a pretty fabulous litter. And in that litter was my Shadow, that is a grand champion, silver in the show ring, and a grand field champion, and one of about 11 dual grand champions in the country, and the only one who's a dual grand champion silver. There's another one coming, and actually Grace from the Netherlands, she's a dual champion, their first dual champion, and she's probably going to be a dual grand champion silver. She has an aptitude also that we've developed. Anyway, we bred her to Grace's brother and just got this terrific litter. And and best in show winners. We haven't won our national specialty, but puppies from the litter have won best of opposite and select, and best of breed owner handle at our national specialty. So I take credit for that. That was
as well. You should.
That was my doing, bringing that in, and it brought a lot of type, and it fixed the temperament problem I was having.
I want to point this out. I'm going to throw this up here. Andrea asked, what sort of temperament issues tend to pop up in Bassets? Andrea is a Basenji person. She said, most of the ones I have seen seem so easygoing and even keel.
Yeah. A Basset should be easygoing and even keeled. That's how exactly they should be. But I was having a lot of trouble with fear aggression, and some of them have food guarding issues, but most of it's fear aggression that I was dealing with. They shouldn't be aggressive at all. You should be able to have them around any kind of dog, walk them through a dog show, and have them be totally comfortable and outgoing and easygoing. And the first ones I had were not all that way. I had to one of the first males I had to watch him constantly, that he didn't attack another dog. I had
Oh,
to keep him.
yeah.
Once he was in the show ring, he was fine, but outside the show ring, and people would want to come and pet him, and you couldn't trust that they could do that. And then his son is who Vicky knows, my Tony. Tony was so frightened, had so many fear problems that he crawled on his belly into Vicky's studio, following little bits of chicken the first time she met him. And Vicky told me, "You'll never be able to show that dog." And he was a bronze grand champion.
And and I've told you this many times that I was like, I'll never say that again.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'll be honest and say, I don't think so. But it's like, he really was okay. But it's because you put the work in,
Yeah.
I said it was going to be a lot of work, and you were like, well, I'm going to put in the work, and you did. And that has stayed with me. And I don't say that.
Well, it's so this is the really important point as a breeder for me. It's one thing me putting the work in to help the dog, and it's quite another to ask a pet owner or a new show person or somebody who wants to get a dog and be successful to have to put that work in. And that's why I've worked on temperament. So
that's such a good point. Especially, I think, in a breed that you go into just expecting it to be this way.
Right.
And then if you get it and it's something else, I think that can be really, really hard. So tell me, who are some of your favorite Rivercity dogs and why?
Well, so we were just talking about Tony, and Tony was he had so many problems, but he was such a character, and he was so beautiful. So that he was.
I remember he loved it when we did Cavalettis. Like that sort of turned his feelings about me. He was like, "Oh, we do this fun thing together. Okay, this is."
So he liked routine, and so he, again, just like his father, was a mess outside the show ring, but great in the show ring because he knew exactly what was going to happen, and he knew all the pieces, and he could put it all together. He was absolutely beautiful. He won winner's dog at a specialty before our nationals and best of winners. It was a huge win, beautiful ribbon, $75 ribbon, biggest ribbon I've ever won, still biggest ribbon I've ever won. And 2 days later in the hotel room, he took it off the top of the lamp and ripped it to shreds. That's for me.
Oh.
I had to buy a new ribbon to replace it. He was just an absolute character, and he really didn't like kids. I have my granddaughter works with me now, and she shows with me now.
I meant to bring that up when I talked about showing family, because I know that she's actually picked some nice puppies out of your litters that she's very involved in showing them and that kind of thing, which is great.
And she would crawl in the crate with Tony, and Tony would let her. But he was just a character. He was just an absolute character. I love Shadow. Shadow has opened every door I could ever imagine for me. And I show her in the field dog trial bitch class at National, and have for about 5 years, even though she's a silver grand champion. And I do it on purpose so that people can see that field dogs can be beautiful too. And she's won that class. She hasn't won it every year, but she's won it most years. And she's occasionally placed. She's gotten best of opposite out of that class and awards of merit out of that class at our national dog show. I mean, she's just a phenomenal dog, and she's a phenomenal dog to live with. She's just, and she's just everything.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and she's given me everything. She's only, I've only bred her once. She gave me a litter of 8, 6 champions. I can't even, best in show winner in that litter. They're,
Your best in show winner, right?
huh?
The one that your own, the
Yes,
one that you.
what I
So
own.
I think we should talk about that. We won't talk too much since I'm going to have you back for an owner handler interview. But I mean, that's got to be the greatest thing in the world, the winning best in show with a dog you bred and you're handling.
Right, exactly. It was really a shocker. It was at Christmas time, and it was during the national championship back in Florida, and the show was rather local. And the dog we're talking about is Rivercity Man of Steel, who's Shadow's son. And I expected that a lot of handlers wouldn't be there, but actually, so I was sort of thinking Shadow has not won any real groups. Grace from the Netherlands won my first group placements, and then Ty has won so many group placements. I can't even tell you how many group placements he's won. And so we had been
also
winning.
one that you handle and
That's
bred.
Ty is who we're talking about. Man of Steel is Ty. And I own him with Sandy and Mark Chrysanthus, and now Kara owns him also, my granddaughter, so she can show him in junior handler. And owner handler. So off I went to the show, and I kind of was thinking as I was driving, we could do well. We could do well at this show, and so we get there, and then I look around and see who's there, and I'm going, what are you thinking? What are you thinking that you think you could do well here? And so he won breed. And then we were in group, and there were still some really phenomenal hounds in that group. There were a really nice Whippets, really nice, a really nice Borzoi, really nice Ridgeback. There was, and nice Dachshunds. There was just it was a full group. And it was a Canadian judge, and he came and he pointed at me for group 1. And I was like, shocked. And this was the first time that I'd been at a show that handlers were talking to me about wanting to show my dog. I've had it several times now, gee, it'd be really nice to show your dog. Then we went, and so we also won, of course, owner handler, best of breed. And so we were in that group. We got group 1 also. And so,
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah,
that happened on the same day.
Yeah, both days. And
says a lot about his stamina. He was in a lot that day.
You know something? He has more stamina than 5 dogs. I mean, he just loves to show. I mean, he's just a phenomenal show dog. I just kind of hold on to the leash, when he, because he's just got the energy of a champion. He just really has a lot of energy. Anyway, I'm pretty sure we did real best in show first, and owner handled best in show second, because everybody was held up waiting for me to compete in those. And he showed really well, but there was this beautiful Doberman in there. I mean, and so the Doberman got reserve, and I was like, the judge wasn't even looking at me. And then he says, and the Basset is best in show. And I was just, it was just amazing. But as amazing as it was, I had to run to owner handler to that group, and we got reserve in owner handler that day. Yeah. And the next day we also won group, and we got best in show owner handler the next day, but we didn't get regular best in show. But yeah,
you won the group again the second day?
Yes. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. It was quite, I called Sandy and Mark and said, well, we won. And they said, what? And I said, all of it. It was pretty amazing.
I mean, your face when you're talking about it, I could just
Well,
tell it was like it's just the highlight of your life, right?
well,
I mean, one of them in dogs.
you have I set goals for myself every year. And I think that year my goal was to get a group placement. And Grace gave it to me in March of that year. And this was December, I had not set a best in show goal yet. We haven't repeated yet, but we've repeated the group ones multiple times. And he's still winning. He was very frustrated during the COVID year, sitting here going, why aren't we out showing, Mom? You know. So I have to be honest. I've done most of the owner handle with him, but I do occasionally let a handler
Mm-hmm.
Take him out. He goes out with Bill and Taffy McFadden when I can't go. Like last weekend, I was field trialing and he was in Anderson with them showing.
Yeah, he knows them.
Yes, he knows them. We take class from them and yeah, he knows them. Yeah.
I just wanted to point out that Tabitha said, I'm relatively new to the breed in Australia. This is great and informative. So I'm really happy that
nice.
this is good for you, Tabitha. I wanted to go back really quick and just give you huge props for the decisions you made about temperament, because I think especially when you have dogs that you, like you said, they do fine in the ring, but they're not okay. A lot of people would be like, they do fine in the ring and that's really all I need. You know what I mean? So I think it's huge that you're like, I know they're pretty, but we need more than that.
Yeah.
We need more than just, a pretty dog. Like they've got to have the head to go with it,
Right. Well, so I have Tony frozen. I have, I think, 9 vials of Tony, and Tony's never been bred. And I'd be lying if I didn't say Tony was one of the most beautiful dogs I've ever bred. I mean, he had the most beautiful head, but his temperament was terrible. And um, so I haven't thrown it away, but if I use it, it would be with somebody like Grace from the Netherlands, because they have to have a really strong positive temperament for me to go there.
But I have to tell you, like I've told you before, if you can change it as much as you did with him, and I mean, that says a lot about the temperament, and that I do think part of his issues were learned. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That it wasn't just that he was, oh, Brian Black said Tony with hearts in his eyes. I'll put that up there.
That's so funny. Brian Black said Tony was the hardest dog he's ever had to show. Brian did show him. He was, I didn't talk about that, but he was
one of the hardest ones that ever walked into my training studio.
Yeah.
No, he was fun. He was fun. He just was like, I mean, he was a puzzle.
Yeah.
He was a little bit of a puzzle.
Yeah.
So tell me about some of your favorite dogs outside of your kennel.
Well, Sarge, Showtime Shock and Awe. I just feel like he exemplified what a Basset should look like. I mean, he just was phenomenal. And I was able to be with Sandy during his campaign a lot and see what he did for Bassets. Because when I first started, I used to sit at work on my computer every Monday and see how many Bassets placed in group over the weekend. So I'd look at InfoDog and look at the results, and look and see who placed. And very rarely did I see a dog place in group. And I think Sarge blew that door open, and, we get noticed a lot more. So I really like Sarge. I love Grace's mother, and she's a foreign dog. Her name was Darwin's Dream Van Gruzen. He called her Dream, and she was a dream dog. And Tony's grandmother, Baby Butt, her registered name was Rivendell Sandlin Heaven Sent. I saw her in a show ring in Sacramento, and I said to myself, I have to have a puppy from that bitch. And I spent the next 2, 3 years courting Sandy, literally rubbing her feet, massaging her neck until until she sold me a puppy out of that litter, and that I she was fabulous. And going even further back in that Sandlin line, there was a dog named Harley who I never saw, but his pictures, um, I know his legacy. He was the number one um, best breed winner, specialty breed winner in Bassets for a long time. He had over 50 specialty best of breeds. His name was Sandlin Classic Cruiser, I think was his name, and he's behind all of my everybody but Grace.
Mhm.
Everybody but Grace has him in him, and Tony had him twice in his pedigree. So I really like him. And then on on the Sarge side, Sarge's father, Fox Glen Special Forces Major, um,
Mhm.
is a lovely dog, and I've bred into the Fox Glen line to get some beautiful dogs as well.
I wanted to also, before we wrap up, just touch on, because we were talking before, and I know you have a litter due tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
And I have heard what you told me about uh, whelping and raising a basset litter. I've heard that from other basset breeders before. So I just wanted you to talk a little bit about that and how, because that's not something that's an issue with all dogs. Like we don't worry about Lauchens like that, So I just wanted you to talk about that so people can get a feel for what it's like to have a litter of bassets.
So,
The hell that you'll be going through starting tomorrow.
so we have our whelping box with pig rails, like most people, but we have a real problem with the bitches sometimes rolling over on the puppies and smothering them. So we have to stay up 24/7 until I do it until I stop rescuing puppies consistently. When
Yeah.
and it usually is a 24/7 operation for 7 to 14 days. If you're lucky, um 7 days would be just phenomenally lucky. I used to take 2 weeks off of work. Now I'm retired. So, but 14 days, I call it puppy prison. I don't leave my bedroom. We just camp out in the bedroom. I have a microwave and a refrigerator, and we eat dinner there, and we have a recliner there, and one or the other of us is awake 24/7, and we trade off. But I'm the one that stays there. Gary will come down and feed everybody and get everybody out and go in and out, but I stay in the bedroom. And then there's still, we still have to watch them fairly closely for the next 2 weeks. It takes me about 3 weeks to even feel comfortable walking out of the house
Mhm.
because of it. And as you get older, it's just hard. It's harder and harder. If I could hire somebody to do those first 2 weeks, it'd be great. The rest of it,
Well, how old's Kara?
yeah. Well, believe me, Kara would come if her mother would let her.
I'm
She,
sure you're going to be, easing her into that
yeah,
job pretty soon here.
she will. She will come, and we really haven't talked about my granddaughter. Just loves the dogs, and she started loving the dogs from I have a picture of her holding the lead of Shadow when she was 2 years old at a dog show, because she wanted to show Shadow then at 2 years old. I took her to Golden Gate when she was 4 and 5, and when she was 5 years old, she was running Grace around Golden Gate. And if you've been there, it's a bench show, and there's a billion people, and a billion dogs. And she was
Yeah.
telling me she was taking her back and forth to the potty area, and she was telling me, I can show these dogs, Grandma. I can show these dogs. And I said,
Oh,
okay, we'll go to class. So I started taking her to class, and the first class was kind of scary. She lost control of the dog, and the leash wrapped around the stanchion and knocked it over. And um, uh, and the dog was kind of running around and he was kind of mortified. And it was so cool because the instructors, the McFaddens, they were just very calm. They put the ring back together. They didn't say anything. And all the people in the class didn't say anything and didn't grumble. And all the way home, she cried. And I said, you know what? You know what? It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay because you're going to learn how to do this. And they all asked me the next week, where's your granddaughter? But she was playing soccer or something. She couldn't come the next week, but she started coming and she went to class until she was till she was 6. And then she started showing and she started showing at 6 and now she's 9. And she's now an official junior.
She finished that bitch of hers, right?
Yeah, she finished her shadow puppy, and she's 10 or 9 points away from a grand champion on her. She's still showing her, but she likes showing Ty better because Ty wants to go faster. So now she's showing Ty as her junior dog, and her first weekend out as a junior was in November, and she showed twice. She got second in novice the first day and first the second day.
This past November?
Yeah, last November in Corning. Yeah.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yeah, and I've had judges tell me if I had a granddaughter who could show like her, I would quit showing.
Oh.
So he's showing she'll show. We've got puppies. We've got 3 sets of puppies we're going to be showing when we get showing again. So she's.
And the grandson, nothing? He's just
so it's pretty funny. He started out showing too, and he won. He showed Grace and Carmel with a red mohawk.
I remember that.
Yeah,
I remember that.
And won. I have this great picture of him. Bob Post was the judge, and he still talks about my grandson with a red mohawk. But he's a baseball player. He likes the dogs. He likes to play with the dogs, but he doesn't want to show the dogs. Kara is absolutely crazy about it, like I was about horses.
Does she still do soccer or other sports too?
Yes, soccer and softball. Yeah.
Oh,
parents help her.
Darn. No, I'm just kidding.
So she was at the field trial with me this weekend, tromping around. She handled on Saturday and Sunday. She handled all the dogs. She handled everybody.
Wow, that's awesome.
Single dog. I just was the field help.
That's great. Well, I really appreciate you doing this talk with me, Patti. Is there anything you want to add?
I don't think I'd be anywhere without my mentors. I haven't been breeding that long, I'm not young. I don't have 40 years to get it right. I have to get it right away. And had I not listened to my mentors and helping me make these decisions that I made along the way, I would be nowhere where I am now. I progress really rapidly. I know because of their good advice and listening to mentors. So I think if you're new in breeding and you're trying to make decisions, because in the beginning I had feelings about the dogs, but I really couldn't see a dog the way I can see a dog now. And I think I think that's why breeding's so important. Is because when you're sitting there 24/7 looking at these little puppies and watching them grow and watching, what they look like when they were born and what they look like now and what this makes that, you learn a lot about seeing a dog and having an eye for a dog. And so I think breeding is important for that. When I pick my puppies, I pick them sitting in the yard, watching them move naturally in the yard. And I sit out there for hours watching them move, and I go, "Oh, look at that! Oh,
yeah,
what is that?" And when I keep seeing, "Oh, yeah, that's the same." That's usually the one I'll keep, is the one that I see moving so beautifully in the yard naturally. So listen to your mentors. Get good mentors. I was just really, really lucky to have great mentors and listen.
Yeah, that's great. Well, you've had great success. I was so happy, well, for all of it, having known you from when, most of what I knew was your field stuff. And then
Yeah.
to see on Facebook that day that you won Best in Show was just like, oh my God, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think you deserve it. You're wonderful, Patti.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for being here.
You're one of my
Oh, you're
sisters
sweet.
for temperament.
Tammy Whitney said that is great advice.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, Patti, we'll
Bye,
see you
Tammy.
soon, hopefully. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.